Welcome to the Post-Human Podcast.
Today's guest, business owner, author, and the host of With Love Alexa podcast, Alexa Randolph. So how are you today?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm very good. So let's just get straight into the first thing. Obviously you're a business owner. Started in 2017, I believe.
Yeah, a few. So technically, I got my LLC in 2016, and that's like when I was writing my books. But my actual this recent business just started this summer.
Right.
But
okay.
I've been in the business since. Yeah.
I just wanted to check my own facts.
You're good. Don't worry. I forget sometimes too.
So what got you into starting a business? Was it just the books and being an author, or?
So I was actually in an accident back in 2016. It was about 2 months after I graduated college, and I went back to work a little bit, and I just started getting a lot of pain, and my head wasn't doing great. It took 4 months to be diagnosed with a concussion, and I now have chronic pain from it. So I can't really necessarily hold down a full-time job with working for other people.
Yep.
So I kind of I started with the books, and then I ended up podcasting a lot more about my mental health and chronic pain, and got people hear their stories. And then I've just always liked to be creative. So this past summer, I started my custom design business.
Yep.
Where I do wine glasses, tumblers, shot glasses, makeup bags. I'm gonna keep adding more.
I was gonna get into that. I did have a brief look.
Yeah, so that started this summer, and I've been I love working for myself, and it's just been a lot of fun, and I get to keep these memories for people, make these memories for people that they'll have forever.
So, I mean, I was going to get into some of the products. You've got little slogans. Are some of those from your own shows, little catchphrases that you've said yourself? Or
I think some I just kind of make some were from the reality TV, the big quotes they do. So I have a Bravo collection. A lot of it's just mainly custom.
That's what the Bravo. See, I was going through it and I wondered what the Bravo collection was. It was 3 down or something like that.
Yeah, it was Housewives. The Real Housewives.
That's what made no sense to me. I was like, Bravo.
I know.
Collection.
I should probably write the Real House. I should probably write the Real Housewives. But
well, if you know what it is, you know what it is. It's not something that I would personally watch. But
yeah,
it's not that I wouldn't be a fan. I've just never seen it. I wouldn't know.
No, exactly. I did have some set designs, but most people were getting the custom. And every time I was making more, it was just getting harder to put on my website. So I have Etsy, I have website, I have all these places. So I decided to do just plain custom. And then I showed my designs in the examples so people can see what can be done, plus whatever they want.
Yep, got you.
So that's why it's set up that way.
So going back to the accident, what happened, if you don't mind talking about it? What was the...
Not at all. So I was out of town visiting family, and we were at a red light when it turned green. A lady started, we went, and a lady ran another, a red going 65 miles an hour and T-boned us on my door. And we got pushed 60 or 40 something feet. And we almost hit a concrete sign, but my uncle was able to maneuver the car.
Jeez.
To get it away from that. But we were in a Mercedes, which are actually one of the strongest built cars. So when you look at our car after, it was just a little dent on our door.
Really?
You would have never known. That's how strong. So if we would have been in any other car, we probably wouldn't have made it.
I know German cars are built like absolute tanks. No,
Yeah.
not a reference to where they're from, but they're pretty sturdy vehicles. I'd imagine if you was in sort of a Fiat or something, it'd probably have gone not so well.
Exactly. The other car was totaled, but supposedly I think everyone walked away that night.
Wow. What was the other car?
I thought it was a car, but apparently it was an SUV, so I don't even know.
Blimey.
I saw it on the police report or whatever, so I don't know. But yeah, she had 4 kids in the car. and she was looking for her cell phone.
Ooh. Yes.
So there was no like drinking or any of that in it involved. But it was still distracted driving.
It's a good speed though, 65. That's pretty.
Yeah.
It's a good.
And it wasn't even on the expressway.
Really? What was it on? Just a normal road? Wow. Yeah. That's wild.
Yeah,
Crazy.
So it changed my life. And it's weird as good I'm gonna say sounds to say this. It changed my life for the worse and better. Because even though I still have chronic pain and but I've done so much because of it. Like I would have never had a podcast. I would have never gone into speaking. I've gotten to speak at a few places. I would have never had the business. I would have never had anything probably because I would have just been working. I was actually supposed to start a job at a clothing store when I got back. And then because of my pain, I couldn't. So I would have just been doing that. And I don't know where my life would have been.
Well, I'd rather imagined it being the same store or the same sort of industry. You know,
right, but I don't know. My business would have not. I would have never had the idea.
Yeah.
Podcast.
But that's what I'll say. Yeah,
meet the people I've met.
So, sometimes you have to have these really weird turn of events where you have to rethink your situation and go, oh, I can't do this. You know, I mean, I have a couple of minor disabilities, and it's the reason why I podcast, because I can't spend a hell of a lot of time on my feet. Talking to people is relatively easy, and it's not really.
Yeah.
It's pretty easy going. It's not strenuous, and I'm not busting my ass in a warehouse, breaking my back, and not going to do that again.
Exactly.
No chance.
No, but I agree. It's like sometimes I can only talk so much, like different times, because my brain, sometimes it'll get really tired. But
Right,
other than that, but so I have to like concentrate, and then sometimes I feel bad, like when I'm hosting, I like be really concentrating, and sometimes it might look like I'm like zoning out, but I'm not. It's like I'm literally just concentrating what they're saying.
I think, to be honest, though, most of us do that. There's times where even during a conversation face to face, some people are already preloaded an answer in their head, aren't they? Do you know what I mean? Before you've even got the end of the sentence, you're like, oh, okay, I know how to respond to this. So it's almost the same over Zoom, but there's obviously a mild delay, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
that's my thought.
Sure. And it's nice because I've changed. Like I used to have a podcast. I had with Level X a podcast, and a lot of it, what I would do is have a whole interview, like questions and stuff, and sent over before, where I would be looking like what the next question is, make sure I didn't repeat myself. Where now I changed. So I have a second podcast called Hey Alexa that recently started, and it's similar topics, but a little bit more broad because I talk about business, podcasting, like all different topics. But now it's just plain conversation.
It's the best way.
And it's so much nicer. It's like flows better. I'm like getting to actually listen to what they're saying and ask questions.
I mean, sometimes, you can have like a few bullet point notes, a bit of paper, excuse me, or, it depends as well how good your brain is and how much you can remember. Because, if you've done a lot in the day, 9 times out of 10, you're probably still thinking about, well, what am I doing for tea later? What's going on? So sometimes it's worth doing notes. Sometimes, depending on your mood, you can just wing it, and it tends to go better. I've had one swing and a miss, and that's it. That was my own fault.
Yeah, my winging has been way better. It's like flows so much better, and it's like because it almost like was more not robotic because it still was sounding good, but it was just like I was more nervous the whole time because I was looking all the time at the questions.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
So I had to like concentrate more where I didn't get to actually enjoy the conversation.
Sometimes with a bit of skill though, you can put it in your eye line on a bit of paper, and it's with a nice bit of prop work, you can sort of work around it. But I tend to not do that. I have one sheet of paper, and believe me, it's got your name on it, what you do, and 3 bullet points, which are 2 words each. It's not really that hard to remember. So let's get into some of your products. Obviously, you said you're doing new things. What sort of other products have you got in mind?
So I would like to start. Okay, so a lot of what I do now, you can do like for gifts and all kinds of stuff. I also wouldn't mind starting to be more promotional, like for businesses. So like maybe koozies, like for their drink, like the
the placemat things,
yeah. So like that could be cool. Or eventually, I would like to learn how to do business cards. So like people can buy business cards like from me, but that's a way away.
Directly.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
like they custom their.
yeah, that's
That's a
lucrative.
little ways away, but I'm looking into how to do it, and I've like been researching. So I'm gonna play and make some of my own first.
Well, I used to work in a label printing factory, and relatively the machines are, what they had was expensive, but they're industrial, and I'm pretty sure you could get like a personal printer that would do that.
The Cricut is what I use, and that's how I do my glasses, everything. And it could be there's all these different settings, like cardstock, vinyl, iron-on, so it has everything.
I might have to look into one of them because I'm always after business cards, but excuse me, I'm not going to pay £25 for 100, no. or £19 on a good week once a year. If I time the window right. But it's always just worth making that initial investment in something like that, especially if you're doing product designs, because you just don't know where it could go. Especially if you're gonna, if you then start advertising for other people, like via Etsy or maybe like even on Fiverr or Upwork. You can go onto there and go, hey, if you want something doing, bang bang, charge them an extra 10%, than what profit you'd make. Because the profit on it's pretty lucrative if you can get into it.
Right. Exactly.
I know that.
So I'm you should. The machines aren't that bad, so it's that expensive.
So my boom arm decided to just wander off on its own then. So obviously you've got a book series. Let's talk a little bit about that. What made you want to? Again, I know obviously you said about your accident and stuff like that, but what made you just go more into writing a series of books? Because that's a different creative channel compared to podcasting and business management.
So I've actually always been a big writer. I've always loved to write ever since I was little. And I've always had like a creative imagination of things. Like I would come up with stories and things in my head all the time. And this actually was way before the accident started. I had started writing a book in my senior year of high school. And I wrote maybe 10 chapters and I just couldn't do it anymore. I didn't like it. I wasn't into it. So I put it away. And then it was my junior year of college. So 2014, I was on a break and I just happened to be watching TV. And it just was weird. I got all these ideas for a book and then the characters and just kind of just started. First, I started with the characters, who they would be, things like that. And then I kind of outlined the book, what I would want in the book. And I just started writing it. I was a chapter a day I would write. And I wrote it all through the rest of the school year. And then I took a break. I think it was summer because I had a lot of things going on. So I had a few chapters left, but I knew what I wanted in the chapters. So I actually picked it back up a few months later. And I was getting it. My friends would help me edit it at first. And then after I graduated, I went to I think it was after the accident actually, I paid an editor because it was ready in my eyes. I didn't see any more to do. So I paid an editor and there were a lot of things that needed to be changed, which was my first book. So I ended up they suggested a writing coach and I ended up working with him. It was only going to be 4 sessions. And then with my accident thing, I did end up stop work and I ended up wanting to really write it with him. I would write a couple chapters, send it to him, and then eventually the book was done. And it was actually a lot of it changed completely. The main story was the same, but there's some things that happen and those things changed a little bit. Because
do you mean sort of lead ups to moments, sort of that kind of thing?
I don't want to give it away.
Okay.
There was no, it's a big moment happens, and it was the same moment, but it was an illness that happens, and somewhere in the book, it was just a different illness.
Right. Okay. No,
so if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
It fit more with the age of the characters and things like that. And I had worked, and one of the characters is an event planner, and when I was first writing the book, I'd wanted to be an event planner, but I hadn't really done a lot. And after my accident, I worked for an event planner for about 6 months. And that was before I was taken off work because things got really bad. And I learned so much in that 6 months that I was able to take that into the book and it made it really real.
That's the best thing.
Because Right. So all that research, because I've been doing it, helped make the book seem more real in that for the character.
Well, it's like acting in a role as well, isn't it? You know, if you're an actor, and
Yeah.
if you want to get yourself really into the role, you sort of train for maybe, I don't know, I'd imagine they probably do 3 to 6 months depending on what the role is and or your commitment level. You know, but that's a different level of commitment. If you're going to put yourself into a job for 6 months to take something back out
Oh,
of
no,
it.
no.
Oh no,
It
you did
wasn't
it
for.
prior. Sorry, yeah, got you. But
Yes,
would
that
you
was
ever
my dream job. Originally, that was my dream job, was event planning.
would you
And
ever
then
consider doing it again for like
event planning.
no, I mean
Oh,
putting yourself into a position in life, not majorly, but just to write another book, you know, just to gain more
maybe.
experience.
Maybe. So I actually, in between publishing the first one and writing the second one, I actually wrote a separate book, and it haven't done anything with it. It was actually a fiction based off my accident. Which eventually I want to go into and like do, because a lot of it's changed since, and I've learned a lot about everything because I was very new into it still. Like I was just diagnosed with everything, so it's very new. Or now I'm 5 years out, so eventually I want to maybe do that. So I guess I did experience it for that, but
I mean, even as a short story, you know, there's
yeah.
plenty of short stories out there. Stephen King's the master of them. You know, write
Mhm.
several short stories, put 3 of them in a book, and chances are one of those stories gets put into a piece, you know, like a series or a movie. There's been plenty that have been made into movies. It's always strange how short stories get picked up a lot for shows, and it's a really
Yeah,
weird, it's a really strange way that happens.
I
So
know.
obviously, your second book. What are the titles of the books? I did have them on that paper, but the papers fell down.
Yeah, it was no, you're good. It's With Love Ella was the first one, and then With Love Daniel was the second one, and it was a continuation from the first.
Are you planning the trilogy?
No.
No.
It was 2 and done.
What's the reason for that?
I just I'm not really sure. I just haven't had like inspiration for anything lately. And then I
Maybe
got into podcasting and I got into all this other stuff. So
maybe it'll
maybe
come.
eventually.
It might come down the line. You never know. You could pick it
Oh,
back
for
up in
sure.
3 or 4 years. You know, it's
Yeah.
same with Stephen King. The Shining was what 30 years old when the Doctor Sleep got released. No, it's a Doctor
Well, you
Strange
never
then.
know.
It's a long time. I mean,
Yeah.
I've tried writing before, but I only got about 15,000 words. But I wanted it to be like longer. Um,
Yeah.
but it was a bit of a mess. You know, I'd write bits of it.
They usually are.
Yeah, it
Usually
was
are when you first write it.
it's very messy. I shelved that way before I even started podcasting, but I'd be tempted to give it a read again and just to have a look. I might, or again, send it off, just publish it as a short story. But that was again just some like weird moment of inspiration where I was just like,
Yeah.
huh, this could be a good idea. And then, you know, next thing, if you're a pretty creative person, you can just go down your own rabbit hole for a few hours. And it was
Yeah.
what's your writing process?
So what it was for the last few books is, once I get an idea, I kind of like to outline each chapter, but it doesn't mean I'll stick with it. It's just like I like to know where I'm going, because then it helps me to not have writer's block. Because then once I see like, oh, I want this scene, I start writing, and then it all just starts coming out. But I like to have an outline, just to have an idea of where I want to go. And then the characters, I create them like a whole sheet, like a 10-page sheet on them, to really get to know them.
I've never thought about doing it like that. Huh.
It's like character, like it's
Yeah,
like a
like
character or whatever. Yeah. So like I
I know
really
what
get
you
to
mean.
know them.
It'd be like a Dungeons
So
and Dragons character sheet, you know,
yeah, but it's
almost.
like in my books, I have a lot of characters, like 2 main ones, but then they have like siblings and friends that are all still connected, and they're all throughout the book. So like I had to make one for each of them, and it was very tiring by the end.
Is that why you're not going to do a trilogy?
Maybe not.
Some more you got to do 10 more character sheets.
Oh,
I mean, that can be tiresome in itself, just the prep work. You know, that's,
yeah.
you know,
And
if
then
you've
the
got,
research and yeah.
you know, if you've got 6 characters and you're doing 10 pages on each, that's 60 pages right there.
Already, yeah. And that's not even writing a book.
No, that's got to be, that's got to be a good 5,000 words a character, at least, I would imagine.
Probably.
at
I
least.
I could be exaggerating. It probably wasn't 10 pages, but
No. It's still enough for you to remember and exaggerate it.
yes.
So, podcasting. What was the main reason to getting into that one? Because it
Yes.
just another creative field?
No, I actually had no interest. I had no idea. I never thought I would ever do that. So what ended up happening is I had started a blog. This was like 2019, and I wanted to do it about like mental health and chronic pain, like awareness because of what I went through. And I had a family friend who owned a podcast studio. And we were talking one day, and I was asking him like about blogging because I figured like he or someone would know too a little bit more or how to get it out there. And he's like, you should really think about podcasting. And I was like, I don't think I could do that. I was terrified. Like I was not like I hadn't been speaking, I hadn't done any of that yet. And I was like, I don't know. So he showed me around the studio and I met all the people that worked there. And it was like a really cool idea. And I'm like, maybe let's try it. So I ended up we set up a meeting and we got like what I wanted. We did the logo, everything. And I was like terrified that I would have to speak by myself because like I like a solo because
That's the worst.
yeah. So I ended up they were in charge of everything except for the interviewing and then getting the guests or whoever. Like that was all on me. So I ended up finding this group on Facebook, one of the guest connection groups. And I like just wrote about my podcast and I started having so many people like coming. And I was shocked. I like thought I'd be lucky if I could get a few people to start.
Mental health,
And
I bet you probably got about 15 at least.
yeah, it was great. So, and I would do they're about 28-minute episodes. So like I would do like sometimes 2 to 3 in a day in a one period because I sat for like an hour and a half there. And I would like knock them out and it was great. I mean, I sounded nervous at times, but like I got stronger every time I like went. And then so that was September of 19. So then COVID hit in March. So I couldn't like be at the studio anymore. But I had like so many backed up that I literally had recorded all the way through, I think, June.
Whoa, that's good.
From all, yeah, because it was
That's
only
good
once a
going.
week. It was like, yeah, it was only once a week that I would air, and it'd be one episode a week. So I was able to get all that. So I had nothing to worry about. And then I really wanted to start. So I took a couple of months off, and then I think it was like April. No, I guess it was like a month, but April or May, I like wanted to do something because like I missed doing it. So I ended up doing something. What I ended up doing was a YouTube series, like a 10-minute where I would do, it's called Staying Forever Strong. And that was my saying, to be forever strong. So I would interview people and like just talk with them. And it would be, I did through Zoom. And then I'd put it on my YouTube channel. And it would be like, at the end, I would say like, how do you stay strong? That was like the ending or whatever. And I ended up finding out. And I ended up finding out though, that I could actually still be putting these episodes in my, online because I had access to the portal.
Right.
So I didn't know that. So I ended up doing that. So then I started back up the podcast. And I used those episodes too, but I was able to actually still have all of it. So it was really nice. I was able to continue on. And I ended up getting to about 100 episodes on that one. And then I took a break for a while. It was just a lot. Like I needed a mind break. Yep. So I ended up back in January now, started my second one called Hey Alexa. And it's like a spin on the Amazon because like my name's Alexa. So well, I'm like...
I was going to mention that. It's a really good way. I almost wish my name was that because I'd imagine that it's just one of them buzzwords, isn't it, in a way? Like for a name because you can type it in, you can say it, and it's pretty globally well known as
Exactly.
I think you might have to start speaking to Jeff Bezos about a sponsorship because if you've got the name of that podcast, you might have to send them an email.
I know, and it's funny too, is because what I do is I'll say each title is Hey Alexa, and then I ask a question based off what the topic of the podcast was. And that's like the episode name. And then it'll be like, Alexa, I'm not sure, but my guest, blah, 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 could tell you. And that's the description.
That's really good. That's a good intro. I like it. I mean, the joy. I mean, there's so many spins you could do on that as well. You could almost pretend to be Alexa yourself.
Yeah, but I don't
don't
want
know
to
if
get in
there's,
trouble.
yeah, I don't know if there's
so
some copywriting with that though. That's where it becomes skating on that razor blade edge. It's tricky, but
hey,
it's
it's just
definitely
my
a good
name
hook.
with the word hey. So
Yeah, yeah. I don't know if they can trademark that specifically, because people say that all the time. You could walk along in the street and say that. So it's a tricky
exactly.
phrase.
So
Maybe you should trademark it.
I know.
Take him to the cleaners.
That would be actually really smart.
Be hilarious. Trademark it. I mean, I'm sure that it's probably down there, but you know, if you could beat somebody to that, you get the payout. You wouldn't have to worry about podcasting then. You could just
Right?
pay.
I don't have to do anything.
Yeah, you do what you want. You pay someone to do it
Podcast is
for you.
fun.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, it's all for fun anyway, really, isn't it? You know,
Yes.
it's always for fun. So, I mean, it's always good though to do little 30s because especially if you can blast out 3 in a day and you're releasing 1 a week.
Yeah.
I have a friend that does the exact same, and what he does is he plans like almost 2 years. He reviews films, but he sat there and done like 52 films and then another 52. So he's got like 2 years worth of what his plans are, and it's like, and even then, what he does is he puts a list out there, and then he goes, "If you want to come on to discuss this film, bang." So that it's a really good thing. People will know when they're booked in, like months in advance. I was like, that's genius. Like, there's all these little things that you can do that are really. I don't sit there and think about it, but I see everyone else doing it.
I changed mine. So now I actually post it 3 times a week. I do Monday, Wednesday, and Friday.
Yep.
Because what happened was I had so many that I've done that it was through September. And I'm like, people I'm interviewing in February, and I'm like, that's not okay. Like, I don't want to do that. Like, I don't want to wait that many months. So now it's like through like May, which is still like plenty, and I still keep getting more and more people. So like, it's not a big deal. But like, I was like, I don't want to wait.
You've almost forced your own hand with that.
Which is, like, it's not so bad.
No, I mean, not when it's, I mean, when they're minors, it's not so bad. I mean, I tend to do long form, which, you know, I have 4-hour slots, and the most I've done 3 back to back in a day. And that was, they're like 3 2.5 hours or some shit like that. And it was absolutely, I know it was a long day. And then I had
mine about 30 minutes.
Yeah, no, I edited them all on that night as well when I'd finished, because I was like, I'm not doing anything tomorrow. Let's just, by that point, you know, you're just hanging on by threads. But it's fun. It's fun to challenge yourself. The one thing, again, you know, I started doing solo shows, and I was like, this feels a bit odd. I'm just talking to nothing. It'd be all right if I had, like, somebody next to me, like a producer. But just talking to the camera, it feels so weird. You're like,
Yeah.
Who am I really talking to here? It just feels like... And if someone walked by, like your window, say if you was in a kitchen and someone walked by and they just seen you ranting at a wall and they didn't see this microphone, people would think you're mad. Like if they didn't see any of this and they'd just seen like a microphone down here and they was looking from above, like what on earth are you talking to at the window all the time? Like, what's he doing?
Or it's like, what do you even say? Like without anyone like coming back at you.
Yeah, it's so well.
Like, what do you say for that long?
Yeah, that's true.
That's my thing. It's like how many, like I could do maybe a couple minutes, but it wouldn't be like a whole 10-20 minute show.
Yeah, no, I did like, I think my first one was like 45 minutes, and I just ranted off a bunch of bollocks from, you know,
That's
just got a bit wasted and just was like, let's go. let's see what comes out. Whatever happens. For some unknown reason, it's not my best episode, but it's my most played, and I'm not. I'm not really not keen on that. Like, there's so many there's like 70 episodes since then. I'm like, no. Like, play this one. Stop going all the way back to the beginning. Jeez. I almost need to reverse them round and just swap the numbers, do some sort of secret sly maneuvering, but I think that might.
So it almost is your best episode. You might not think it is, but obviously it is.
Yeah, but I don't know how you can base that, because if somebody just watches one, you know, do you know what I mean? And then they've watched it singular rather than anything else. It's I don't know. It's a bit of an unscale. It's not really. I don't know. So what's your next?
Yeah.
So obviously you've got three podcasts, or have you just combined them together? Is that what you mean?
It's just two. I haven't really done much with Love Alexa. it's out there so people can hear all the episodes, but I haven't done anything new with it. Now started this new one.
Yeah.
So it's out there to play, it's out there to listen and all that. I just am doing just this one now.
What differences do you find doing studio compared to at home?
Well, the one thing I liked about studio is like they edited, they put it out, they did everything. Where now I have to do it all.
Yeah, I got you.
So that's the biggest difference. Other than that, like there wasn't much because the producers didn't really talk or anything. So it wasn't like I was always at it with a guest. So like no one really needed to talk. So but yeah.
How bad do you find doing it on your own? Like
It's not bad. I actually kind of like it. I don't mind. Because it's just through Zoom. I like and I'm like talking with them, like they're next to me. And then I use the recording, the audio only.
Yeah.
So it's been good.
Do you ever do much video podcasts or is it just audio? Because I've been on YouTube channel. I've seen most of them just audio. Same for your website. You've got a few on there as well, haven't you?
Yeah. So I put the audio. I was starting to do where the video would be on there too. I think I guess I have a button that pressed. I didn't realize that I had YouTube, like went from the site right to YouTube. Like it did it, like it was an automatic thing. I think I turned that off. Yeah, I think I turned that off because I'd rather I want to eventually, I think I'm going to start putting the videos up so people can see it and hear it at the same time.
Have you got like the back collection of your episodes in video?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have everything saved.
Ooh, you're going to have fun doing that.
Yeah, no, I had quite a few on there and I've only done, I should have done a lot of recordings, but I've only had 12 live. So it's maybe another 10 that I would have to do right now.
I remember when I first started, it was just on Anchor and Spotify and it was just audio, and then I had the video and then I was like, maybe we should do video as well. And I think I was about 20, maybe 20 odd in before I decided to make the move. And well, it was not fun to say the least. It was terrible. It just took forever. I sat there thinking, oh yeah, whatever, how many episodes, it's ain't going to take long. Then I got like 5 in and I'm sitting there, I'm like, fucking hell, man, it's been like 3.5 hours. We're like getting nowhere.
Are you editing them or are you like just
I do a little bit of editing. But
all for the video.
Yeah, all that was done. I mean, that was all done and dusted, but all I had to do was just upload it. But it was just like, didn't really, just took so long. So, I mean, it's probably not so bad with like 30s. That's probably, I might have to start reducing my episodes at points. Take them down to just about an hour. Otherwise.
Oh, yeah, because like when they're really long, it takes longer to upload and stuff. Yeah.
I had a 4-hour 40 once and it took ages. It took me longer than it did to upload and than it did to physically do the interview. And it was crazy. I mean, I've got like a studio in my garden that I pre-built out of a shed and just whaled it up. But it's got a leak at the moment, so it's not doing very well. But during that time, I'd have everything out there. And I remember every time I go out there, I'm like 23%. And I'd started it at like 6 in the morning, and this was like lunchtime. And I'm like, Jesus.
Takes that long?
It really did. And I have pretty fast internet speeds as well. So it was one of my more tactical decisions to go, I'm never doing that again. And if I do, I will split it into 2 parts.
Yeah.
So what other hobbies do you have? I mean, you've got these 3 different things you've got on the go. Do you have any sort of main hobbies that you do yourself?
I love reading.
So
I could get lost in books for days. When I actually let myself read.
Who's some of your favorite authors?
There's an author called Gillian Dodd. She's it's like they're a lot younger books, I think, like young adult, new adult. And she does a lot of like sports romance and like
sports romance,
like athletes type of.
Sorry, that like presented in my mind like cricketers and stuff like that. I was like, wait, what?
No, it's like football, like a football star. Like,
no, I've got you now. Like varsity sort of stuff.
Yeah, and she has like they're just really sweet books that she like writes, and I just found them randomly on my Kindle one day because I have Kindle Unlimited, so like I pay the $10 a month and I can get like all these books for free and then return them and get more. So I just like happen to find them.
Kindle Unlimited's really good. I mean,
yes, it's my favorite.
I used to. I don't use it so much now because you kind of get a lot of books online. Excuse me. And most of the genres I stick to, it's all like horrors and a bit of science fiction and the occasional like history sort of stuff. But that's pretty rare at the moment. That's very rare at the moment. What about any other favorite authors? Any more? I always like getting authors off. Sorry, I always like getting authors off authors. If that makes sense.
No. I like Nicholas Sparks. I'm very big into romance. You've heard like The Notebook or like A Walk to Remember?
Oh yeah, I've heard The Notebook.
It's his author. He's the author.
Okay. Yeah. See, I've never actually seen The Notebook.
I've only seen it once, but
is it good?
Yeah, it was pretty good.
I think it won a few awards, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't one of my favorites, but like people love it. So,
what's some of your favorite sort of romance films?
Oh, that's hard. I love A Walk to Remember. That was like one of my favorites. That's also A Walk to Remember.
A Walk to Remember. Okay. A Watch to Remember.
No.
A watch.
No, A Walk.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. It's always hard, like thinking of like movies that I love. Like, it's like I'll like one for a while and then I switch to a new one. So I don't necessarily have a favorite and like a go-to.
Yeah. I know what you mean. I mean, obviously, you mentioned the Sex and the City. No, the Housewives. Yeah. Sorry, the Housewives.
Yeah.
Sex and the City. See, to me, borderline the same.
I do like Sex and the City, the movies. I've never really watched the show, but I like the movies.
Yeah, I've not seen any of them. I do need to watch them. It's crazy because I've cited it a few times. I do like watching film. Well, I'm a big film fan, but it doesn't take a lot to make me cry. Fun fact: I once cried watching The Terminator during a breakup. It was a few years ago. I was like, what can I put on to distract my brain? I was like, The Terminator. It's easy, Well, I got most of the way through the original, and then obviously when they get to the cave and have sex and everything, I'm like, man, this film isn't actually about robots at all. And then I sat there and somehow managed to turn one of the greatest sci-fi films into a romance. The film is really about a guy who's in love with it, goes back in time because he's in love with a woman and he's just there to save her and a kid. Like, I sat there and thought about that. I was like, wait a minute. I was like, James Cameron put that sneakily in there. But that's what it's about. If you look at the actual plot of it and what happens, that's all how it starts. He goes back in time. He's just trying to save her. The robot's just there for the, that's just the enemy. Could be anything. It didn't even have to be a robot. They could have changed the robot for a bunch of dogs. Could have been anything at all. It wouldn't have made a difference. Trust me, rewatch The Terminator, people, and you'll see exactly what I mean. It is the greatest love story ever told. It's my personal opinion.
Oh, all right.
So, yeah.
I've actually never seen it, so you should watch it now.
Well, if you watch it with that opinion, that opinion that I've just gave you, you'll get it. You'll be like, oh yeah, it's not really a sci-fi film at all. But for people that have watched it prior, that haven't thought about that, they'll go, wait a minute, yeah, it kind of is in a way. Every single person that is a sci-fi fan, I've said that to, and they're like, oh yeah, well that's a bit of a bummer, ain't it? I'm like, no, what are you talking about? Well, it's a great plot. But no, there's a few. One of my favourite films is a romance film. It's pretty old. It's like Love Actually. It's a really good film.
Yeah.
I like a lot of old sort of rom-coms like Bridget Jones and shit like that. That's hilarious. That's just absolutely genius. But
Have you ever seen the movie? It's a comedy called Bringing Down the House with like Steve Martin.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
And Queen Latifah.
Queen Latifah.
Yeah, I cried during that one. When she got shot.
That's ace. That's crazy. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, she does get shot. Steve Martin's been in everything.
I know, he's amazing.
He's pretty amazing. So is Queen Latifah. She was in something recently that I watched.
Yeah, she's been in a lot. She was just in Hairspray. well, not just. I mean, that was like
Just in it.
15 years ago.
Yeah.
But
I know I had. Wasn't John Travolta in that? Is that the one with
Yep.
John Travolta? Yeah. That's
and my
one of the-
favorite was Zac Efron.
Yeah, he's not really doing a lot these days, is he?
He's
not.
been in quite a few movies.
Has he? What's he been in lately?
I don't know if there's anything super late. He has a show on Netflix though. Like he does a lot of outdoor stuff. So he had like a TV show getting
okay.
down under with Zac Efron or something.
I
Where he
think-
travels to places and like lives the culture.
I think the last thing I seen him in was that film with Robert De Niro, where he plays his grandson. That is Zac Efron. isn't
No, there's been a few after that. But that was a good one. Dirty
Yeah.
Grandpa.
So yeah. That's
That was
hilarious. I'll admit, the dude's pretty jacked. You know,
Yes.
It's the one thing I can do is I can appreciate men that fucking craft their body. you know.
Yes. He was
It's-
in that movie Baywatch.
Oh yeah, it was in Baywatch with The Rock. Yeah,
Yep.
I'd forgot about that one as well. Oh
Yeah. He's been in a few others. I can't like recent, but I don't remember which ones.
You got any other sort of favorite like films that aren't in the romance section? Like anything that you was in your like top three? You know.
Might try. See, I think what I get a favorite and I watch it so many times. that I hate it.
Overkill.
Yeah, that's my problem, and then it's no longer my favorite because I just can't watch it anymore.
No, I get that. Do you ever
That-
watch films to? I mean, occasionally I've seen a film that many times, and I'll go, "Oh yeah, let's watch it." But then because you've seen it so many times, you'll fall instantly asleep. Does
Yeah.
that make sense? That's one of my bad habits.
Yes.
It happened to me recently. I was like, "Oh man, I haven't seen." I think it was. Well, I spoke about it on my other show, A Scanner Darkly, which is like a Keanu Reeves film. It was shot years ago after The Matrix, and it's like an animated film, but it's like
Yeah.
it just looks like real life, but they've just put some filters over it, like an animation thing, and
Yeah.
it's one of them films that has a really strange plot. I've seen it maybe 20 times. I still don't know what it's about, but I tried watching that the other day, and I mildly was nodding off. And at the end of it, I was like, "What? I still don't fucking get what it's about." I was like, "No clue."
I'm more of a TV show watcher, I think, than movies lately.
Any good series?
Have you seen Love Is Blind?
No, I've not seen that. No.
That's a good one. It's reality, but I'm a big reality TV watcher.
You see, that's where I stray down the other path. Reality's strange. I'd rather just live something than watch people live it.
Yeah.
It's like reaction videos. I'm like, why would I want to watch somebody laugh at a video that he's watching?
Yeah.
It's like I'm watching two things. I'm almost focused on the guy laughing and not the video that he's laughing at or reacting to or whatever. It's
Right.
a strange one. It's,
Yeah. But I do like This Is Us.
Oh yeah. I've briefly caught bits of that. I've not seen all of it.
Yeah.
I watched the first couple of
um,
episodes.
Yeah, like I watched a few in the beginning. I watched it for like 2 seasons and then I got kind of sick of it. And then I just rewatched or I started like back up again and now I really like it.
Yeah, that's a strange one when you can do that as well.
Yeah.
There's a few that I've gone off and then rewatched. Like It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. I'm a big fan of that, but I've always, it's 15 seasons or something.
Yeah.
But they're so good, you can watch them again and again. But you get to an episode and you'll be like, "Oh, I've seen this. I'll have to skip this one." And
Yeah.
then you want to come back to it because you're like, "Oh, but it's really funny." You're like,
My favorite, I have my all-time favorite show is One Tree Hill.
I've seen again. That's another one where I've only caught bits of. That's quite
I've
old
seen-
now, isn't it? One Tree Hill. That's
Yeah, it was from
Yeah.
2003 to 2012.
yeah.
I started it in 2010. So I actually got caught up when they started a new season. So I watched 7, 8, and 9 live.
That was I did that with Game of Thrones. I caught the back end of season 6 and season 7, and I was like, this is amazing. I'm like, I need to go back. Like all my friends were talking about it at work and stuff. This is when I was working.
Yeah.
And you go in every week, and everyone was like, "Oh, this happened this week," and blah blah. And I'm like, just trying to get on my work. I weren't really interested. But then there was so much hype about it that I didn't buy into it. I was like, this is just another weird little sheep thing. Everyone loves it, and went on for years. And then I remember watching, one episode where it was just wild, and I was like, oh my god, this is so good. Why didn't I like this? It was, a big fan of fantasy and Lord of the Rings, and how the hell did I not watch it?
There's a lot of shows. What I'll do is like I'll start watching it and I like it like as I'm watching it, but then to get myself to go back into it like another day, I'm like not in the mood.
Yeah.
But once I'm actually doing it, I like it.
I've got a couple like that. I started one of them not long ago called The Order, and I'm a big I love like secret societies and
Yeah, that's on
fantasy shit like
Netflix,
that.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And I watched maybe 6 episodes 3 months ago, and
Yeah.
then it somehow got lost in the ether. And then last night I was scrolling through and I was like, oh, The Order, let's see where. And then as soon as I put it on, I was like, oh yeah, I remember this. This is really good. I was like, why did I ever not finish it and binge it?
Exactly.
So I watched a couple of episodes of that last night. Pretty good. I think I watched maybe 1 or 2. I can't remember. By the time well, it was about midnight around this point, so it's tricky going to sleep when you're always podcasting.
Yeah.
Well, it's. Do you ever try to go to fall asleep and then you think about like edits and things that you fucked up?
Yes.
You're like,
The
"Oh,
worst
wait."
is the worst is when I like there's days like I've worked till like 11 at night, let's say, just like doing whatever on my computer, nothing like strenuous, but my head is just so tired and full, like I'm dizzy from being on the computer for hours that I actually have the worst sleep.
Yeah.
Because half the time I wake up every hour or every other hour wide awake.
Just lucid
like-
sleeping as well.
Right, for like 20 minutes and then can't fall back asleep. And I finally fall back asleep. At one point, I was almost going to get up at like 7 in the morning. And then I'm like, I'll just lay here for a minute. And then I end up falling asleep until my alarm went off. And then I was so tired because that's like when I actually like had a good sleep. It was those couple hours or whatever. And I'm like, oh, I don't want to get up.
I had a crappy routine like that where I'd get up at like 2, 3 in the morning. I'd be up till about 5:30, give or take. And then just go to bed around like 7 o'clock, and then wake up at like, I don't know, 9, half 9, and then you'd be like, sometimes you'd feel groggy, but occasionally you'd wake up and you'd feel, even after having like 3 or 4 hours sleep, you'd feel $1 million. You'd be like, how does that work? It doesn't make no sense whatsoever.
I don't know.
It's weird. It's I can't get the logic of it. So obviously, let's get back to what you do. Have you ever thought about doing any other books alongside, apart from romance novels? Have you ever thought about maybe going and doing? I mean, you said about your accident and you was going to do a book about that. But have you ever thought about going into sort of a different category, like maybe not? Because again, if you're a big fan of like reality stuff, have you ever thought about doing like a book that's almost shaped around that? If that makes sense. I've never really heard of anything like that.
I don't know. I've read a book that it was like a fiction, like romance, but it was like they were on a reality show, like in the book. So I guess maybe something like that, but I don't know. I've just always liked romance. That's just always been the genre I've always gone to.
Just the go-to.
Yeah, it's just my go-to. I don't know. And then I don't know. I just think I've always liked romance, and it's just easy for me because I know how to do it and I know what I like. So I think, I don't know. I think maybe eventually I could try, but I don't know if I would be good at it.
You ever considered writing sort of? I mean, obviously you've got like a series. Have you ever considered doing something maybe a bit bigger than 2 books, but make them a bit shorter? So sort of like a small collection. Does that make sense?
Maybe this actually wasn't even supposed to be a series. So when I wrote the first book, so actually what happens is at the very end there's an epilogue that's like 5 years later. So it shows everything's kind of put together. Then people kept wanting to know more like about from the epilogue, and so what I ended up doing was I did the 5 years in between.
That's good. That's a good idea.
And then it ended at the same epilogue.
Ah, okay.
So, but it was real time.
Yeah.
In the second book. So, yeah. So it was really cool how I got to do that. But that was actually like a 2-year difference. Like I actually had no intention, but then I like part of me had thought about it, but then I was like, I don't know if I would want to hear that or read that. So I just never, and then I ended up doing it. But yeah, there was never an intention to begin with.
Well, the fact that people asked for those 5 years, that's a significant thing. You know,
Yeah.
some people would be like, hey, what's happening next? But the fact that people wanted to know in between that small gap
Yeah.
that's an even better like little angle
Yeah.
because you could have put that off. I think that's your gimmick. You could just do epilogues and then just do 5 years later,
Yeah.
and then you know you could. That's the winning combination. I think you've just created it.
Yeah. So I don't know. But yeah, so I wouldn't mind doing shorter stories, like smaller, because there's something called, it's like a newer thing. It's called Kindle Vella. It's so what it is you can put it on, it's on Kindle, like on Amazon publishing, but you can do like chapter by chapter.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So like and I think you can get paid like depending on the readers or something. Like there's a way to like get paid, but you can so you can do it chapter by chapter. So you can do short stories, you can do a full book. So I might do my the one I'm working, well, I'm not working on it yet, but the one I have about my accident, instead of getting it all edited and a cover and all this stuff that the books they don't like my books, it's the marketing's really hard. So like I haven't done as well as I would have liked, but at least saying I did it is pretty cool. So instead of, I can still edit obviously and everything, but I can do it like through like Grammarly or something like that, and just doing it chapter by chapter.
Did you ever find it hard finding a publicist? I know that I've spoke to a few authors and they've said sometimes it's really tricky, sometimes it's like a hit and a miss.
Yeah, publicist I do myself. I'm a communications major and I've had like PR classes. So like I know a lot and I'm taking classes right now like on it. But yeah, because it's otherwise it's so expensive.
Yeah, I mean, I think, I can't remember how many authors I spoke to. Well, even then, you know, the podcasters, authors, but I've got to be about 10. And out of those, I know that a lot of them have had, you know, significant issues, or there's been some rip-off bastards, and you know, it's
Yeah, it's just
tricky.
very expensive, and who knows, like they have to be like really good, otherwise it's not. I mean, and like that's the difference. I self-published my book. It's like on Amazon. So really the only difference is you're doing it all up front. So you're getting the editor, the cover designer, unless you do it yourself. But like
Yep.
I couldn't do it myself. So I wanted someone else to do it for me. But so that's all being, and the marketing, that's all being you're doing it. Where if you were with an agent, a publishing house, you get like you'll get a percent taken off, but it's mostly my money at this point. So which is nice. It's not like, because otherwise you only get like a small portion and you have to like sell however many books. So it's actually ends up being easier just to do it yourself and be independent.
I'm pretty sure that's how David Wong, I don't know if you've heard of him, I'm sure that's how he started, was just basically blogging small chapters on his website. And then eventually people were just like, hey, we want a book of this. And I think then he
Yeah.
crowdfunded his first book.
People
I might be a
have done
bit
that.
wrong on the details, but he's a great author, one of my favorites. But I would imagine that on the Kindella, say what it was, Kindle Ella,
It's Vella, like Vella.
Kindevella, got ya, Kindevella, right? I'd imagine that that's a really good way of doing it because it also gives you time to, you know, if you put like a chapter out a week, it gives you that week to sort of perfect the next one and tweak it. And then
Right.
rather than just you put it all out as one solid block of volume, you know, content.
Yeah.
That's a really good way of doing things. Huh.
I definitely want to get back into writing and doing stuff like that. It's just been hard because I'm trying to get my other business up and going more. So I'm focusing on that right now. And then eventually I'll get into writing again.
Well, podcasting in itself takes up time, you know,
Right,
and
that too.
it also takes, I don't know, which takes up more, probably writing, I would imagine. Easily probably takes up more time than podcasting. So, you know, juggling it, especially then you've got a business as well. You know, there's a significant juggle. But again, it's all stuff that you love, and it's all something that, you know, it's all something that you've put into it. So whatever you put in, you're guaranteed to take out
something. Yeah.
much more greater, you know. everything. I mean, nothing ever takes 5 years. I think personally, unless you get like lucky breaks, like 10 years is like that's
Yeah.
pretty much how long things take, how much effort's needed and time.
Right.
Also, there's a time aspect you can do. I mean, I took a couple of months off from podcasting, and I'm gutted. I sat there itching the whole time like a junkie, going, man, I just need to get on the mic. I need to do something.
Yes.
And now I've got to pick up the pieces from the time off.
Yeah.
But it's almost like, well, if I didn't, I'd fry my brain. But then it's the time that if I'd have put more time into it, and it's tricky. It's the same way in which you put so much time in, you manage to get up to September. That's a that's a long
but
6 months in advance.
But it didn't even take that long to do it. It was just
No.
because I would record like 2-3 times a day, but I changed my schedule now. So it used to be like, it was kind of like up to 4 times, 5-6 days a week, and it was too much. So now I do it like 3 days a week, like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and either 10 to 12 is one time or 4 to 6 is the other, so that I have time to do everything in between.
Yep.
And it's been helpful. And if someone can't do the days or the time, like I can change it for them specifically, but I prefer to keep it in those times just because it's easier for me.
Yeah, I have thought about doing time slots myself, but I'm like, I don't know. I've thought about it, but I just could just work around it. You just go, well, but again, I'm doing one thing. I'm not. I'm not even juggling 3.
I also like it because if I was doing like scheduling on my own, I would sometimes like mess up times, like so it does it for me. And that's the reason I like it. It's just because I can see everything in my calendar. They send out the Zoom link when you get booked. So it's just really nice.
Well, I mean, even then, it's funny that you say that, because I tend to mess up times. If I've got 9 or 10 different conversations on the go, and then somebody messages me this time, and then somebody else gives me almost not quite the same time, but that's how I ended up getting double booked the first time. Just going, yeah, I can do this, and then inadvertently double booked today, because originally I was just going to do 1 3-hour show a day, and then after I double booked today, I was like, oh, this ain't so bad, and then then you just become like, oh, maybe I can do 3. I'm aiming to do 4. This Wednesday, I'm aiming to, well, this is going to drop after that Wednesday, but I'm aiming like this Wednesday coming up to do 4 shows, just to see how, just to really push it to the limit and go, well, that's, I now know I can do it, and everything else prior to that could be so easy because you've already pushed yourself to a capability that's far, and it's good being a one-man team as well, because you can. I mean, I'll admit, I wouldn't mind somebody to take a bit of slack, but it's character building, isn't it?
Yes, very true.
It's definite character building. I have to say, I do love your website.
Thank you.
Did you do that yourself?
I did.
Wow. I mean, every person that I've spoke to have done their own website. I've yet to do it. Did you do it through like, not Wix? What's the other one?
WordPress.
Yeah, WordPress.
I've had a few different ones. I started a long time ago on Squarespace.
That's quite good as well.
Then I changed it to WordPress for a while, but WordPress is really hard. It's like not easy at all. I'm actually in Shopify now.
Okay, I was going to think about that.
Products, yeah.
See, that's the other thing is, obviously earlier you said about Etsy and stuff like that as well. I've got a few, I've thought, man, I've got a logo, I've whacked it on a t-shirt, but it's just keeping up with that and podcasting. So it's so hard. I have a lot of respect for people that do that, and multi-managing it is essentially what it is.
Yeah.
But, keeping up with it. Shopify, not Spotify. Shopify is meant to be really good. I did look into that, but I might have to look into it again.
Yeah, it's not hard to like maneuver. It's actually pretty easy. So,
do you advertise through YouTube as well on your channel?
I haven't done a lot with YouTube yet, but I'm gonna start doing some like little videos and stuff. I just haven't like had the chance yet.
Have you ever?
I'm on TikTok too, so like I'm.
See, that's what I'm not on.
I know. I never wanted to be, but I'm like, that's where it's all going. So I'm like,
yep.
I should get in before it dies down.
I mean, I've thought about it a few times. I did set up an account, and I was like, don't know. We'll give it a miss for now. But excuse me, one of my problems is I'm like, these are like 30-second, 2-minute videos. I'm like, I've got 3 hours here. How am I going to cut any of that to put into there? It's like,
Oh, like I do separate videos and stuff.
yeah, no,
it's not other stuff, not like a podcast, but yeah.
Yeah, I was hoping to take clips of it. I was going to go, oh, we'll take the clip from there, put it to TikTok, and then reroute it back through. But I was like, man, it means I've got to listen to myself for a couple of hours, and
I know.
I don't want to do that. I don't ever really edit back any of my voice. I just cut out dead air. All I do is I check the volume. I go, yeah, that's me, and then I take it off. Right, ship it out. Yeah, do you ever like listening to your own voice? I know some people. No, it's strange, isn't it? When people go, cause you've got a nice voice, but most people don't like their own voice, and when they hear it back, they're like, "Huh, this is, it's so weird." Especially
and
if
a lot of actors don't even like watching themselves.
No, I couldn't. Well, I wouldn't.
Me neither.
I wouldn't want to go through an editing process of. I know a lot of comedians do it as well. They do like a stand-up special, and then most of them don't even watch it back. They're like, I can't sit there and watch myself for an hour, make jokes. It's
right.
It's no way. Well, listen, we're at like a little hour. I mean, we can continue if you want. I know that again, you say that talking's I don't want to scramble your head with too much information. So if you want to round it up, we can go, or we can take a little intermission. It's up to you.
We can end it here if you want. I have to actually do a few things. So
no,
it's been fun. I've actually really enjoyed this whole hour, so it's been really nice.
No, thank you. So where can people follow and find you?
Yeah, my website is customdesignsbyalexa.com, and Facebook and Instagram is Alexa Randolph LLC. And I think TikTok's just Alexa Randolph. And then everything's on my website, though. My social media, my podcast, my books, everything, my products. So it's all right there.
No, it's perfect. I say it's been a pleasure talking to you. And
yes, it's been great.
Again, whenever you're ready to put more books out or stuff, feel free if you want to come back on and promote them, by all means. Well, listen, folks, this has been the Post Humor Podcast. Catch you next time, people. Thank you.